Good, happy Friday morning and happy Veterans Day, everyone. I'm Riley King. And welcome to Good Morning, New Hampshire. Let's get started. First up, Veterans Day 2016, where military service members can get freebies. In honor of Americans' veterans, several restaurants are offering freebies Friday to the men and women who served our country. Veterans can free red, white, and blue pancakes at IHOP from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Starbucks is offering free tall coffees throughout the day. Friendly's is offering free Big to Do breakfast special or all American burger meals. Red Robin is saluting veterans with free double burgers and bottomless steak fries. Olive Garden and Chili's are both offering free entrees from special menus. Longhorn Steak House is offering free appetizers or desserts. And Little Caesars is offering free hot and ready lunch combos from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And those are Veteran Day freebies for our veterans today. 2 arrested in connection with string of burglaries in Claremont. 2 men are facing charges after police made a pair of arrests this week in connection with a string of burglaries in Claremont. Mark Perry, 37, and Justin Daisy, 25, was arrested early Tuesday morning after police said they responded to a burglary in progress at the Morrow Home Center. Officers found both Perry and Daisy inside the building around 1:30 a.m. Police said Daisy was found to be in possession of a stolen firearm. Perry was arraigned Thursday and ordered held on $5,000 bail. Daisy is slated to be arraigned Friday morning. Police said the arrests were made as investigators continue to look into 3 burglaries in early October at T. Bride Mini Market, the Head Start Preschool, and Howie Motors. Manchester police execute drug raid on Orange Street apartments. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
A major drug bust operation in Manchester tonight. Members of the Police Special Enforcement Division, guns drawn, a canine by their side, executed 2 search warrants at a building on Orange Street.
Well, right now we are executing 2 search warrants at 135 Orange Street, first floor and second floor. Essentially, we had a drug operation here with numerous apartments. Part of their drug operation also included firearms. So we're executing a search warrant. We have arrest warrants for a couple of individuals as well. And we're trying to shut this particular building down.
Police recovered various types of narcotics, including opioids and a cache of firearms.
Anytime that we see firearms and narcotics together, that is alarming, because there's a level of violence anytime that you have firearms in which the dealer may be fearful of somebody stealing from him, another drug dealer, or are they preparing for a raid from law enforcement?
Chief Nick Willard says the suspects had an extensive setup.
The drugs were in one location, the individuals were selling from another location, and then other individuals were deployed to do surveillance in case they saw law enforcement, in case they saw a cruiser.
A small child was also taken from one of the apartments and cared for by the chief himself until family members arrived. Several people were taken into custody.
This was a well-established, entrenched group of individuals.
And the chief says that he's grateful that bust went down without incident. In total, 9 people were arrested, 6 for drug-related charges. 5 of those are accused of selling. 2 people were arrested for outstanding warrants and another 4 for resisting arrest.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Anti-Trump protests sweep the nation for second night. Trump calls them unfair. Let's take a listen to the video from ABC News.
Anger spilling into the streets again overnight.
It is happening right now. The protests in Portland, Oregon, taking a violent turn, escalating into what police called a riot as protesters vandalized cars and buildings, smashing windows, hurling projectiles at police. A live look at Portland right now in the early morning hours, and you can see police in riot gear are still out there in force, and you can also see that they have made several arrests, people there in custody, and this is after protesters have been throwing glass bottles at officers. Officers had to fire some rubber bullets at some point and even disperse mace as well as pepper spray. But the situation there in Portland is still ongoing in the downtown area.
Yeah, they're calling it criminal activity. This is in the Pearl District, which used to be a warehouse community there, but now has become an upscale part of town with several art galleries and businesses. Some of those businesses damaged by what police are calling the rioters versus protesters. There were also some violent clashes with police in Oakland, California for a third night, along with vandalism and street fires. A day after 3 police officers were injured and more than 24 protesters were arrested. In New York City, there were markedly smaller crowds gathering at Trump Tower, hundreds chanting, "Not my president." And in Louisville, as many as 3,000 protesters marching through the streets. And here in Denver, we also have a shot for you there.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Next up for Trump rally, bulls look for new S&P 500 high. Even with weakness in some of Wall Street's favorite tech names, traders are hoping to see Trump rally push the S&P 500 to a new highs fairly soon. Team Trump is already filled with Washington insiders. Let's take a listen to this video from CNN.
I think the people at NASA will tell you that something like 80% of all the energy required to put a satellite in orbit is required to get the rocket about 100 feet off the launch pad. The transition in the first days and weeks of administration is the launch of that rocket ship.
I remember at election night, I could not go to Chicago and watch the victory party. You know, while everybody was celebrating, I knew that the next morning I had to get up and open an office at 9 a.m. And so your election night certainly has a different tone than the other people who you're working with.
The minute the election result is known, that intense, bitter, partisan competition has to stop completely, and a comparably quite mundane, boring policymaking process has to begin.
So it's a different mindset on election night. There's a little deferred gratification for the transition people because their time to be joyous is the inauguration.
One of the extraordinary challenges for transition team is the need to, in essence, replace 4,000 political appointees.
There are 4,000 positions that the president determines.
3,000 to 4,000 political appointees.
Roughly 4,000 people will transition into the government.
The vetting responsibilities are incredibly complicated to actually figure out how you fill those jobs with the right people in real time.
On our transition, we actually had a special room that became euphemistically known as the bunker around the office because so much restriction went into who went in and who went out.
We did a lot of our own in-house database searches about people, so we had a good idea about what the issues were and what they had said, potentially of controversial nature or not controversial.
And those initial lists of, say, a dozen people who might be Secretary of Defense or a dozen people who might be the Attorney General, those lists are then very quickly and very carefully examined.
Mitt Romney never saw the lists. No one suffered a bigger disappointment than he did. And I think in his heart of hearts, he just didn't want to look at them. I'm sure he thinks about it even more than I do.
The truth of the matter, you can do all the planning you want, but unless you've actually implemented the transition, you don't really know how well those plans are.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Now let's turn things to the weather now, and let's take a look at our radar right now. It's a live look on radar right now. As you see on radar, we have a few clouds and a few snow showers up in the White Mountains area. Now let's take a look at your weather on our weather system. Your weather on our weather system right now. Your wind speed peak is 3 miles per hour. Average is 2. Current is 2 from the west. Your temperature is 40 degrees. Humidity is 79%. Your dew point is 34 degrees. Your forecast is sun/rain. And your pressure is 29.27. Now let's take a look at that next 7-day forecast. Here's a look at your next 7-day forecast. And your weather for today, showers, windy, 51 degrees. And now let's take a look at the traffic. Here's a look at the traffic right now. We're seeing a lot of green roadways. We have a few tiny little yellow areas and the tiny little red areas in some parts of New Hampshire. Otherwise, your traffic is moving pretty good on your Friday morning. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more of Good Morning New Hampshire. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.